let's get it started.
Let's do. I'd like you to meet my very good friends Pam Moore, and this is her daughter Callie, and my special friend Callie Moore. I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, a very special friend of mine. Her name is Pat Reynolds, and she has a special son named Kiefer. This is Washika McCleary, and this is her son and my special friend Cameron McCleary.
What's up?
And
CSP, Connection for Special Parents from the Royston Baptist Church, is a group of wonderful, wonderful people set up by my best buddy here, Gene Davidson. We get together. It's a support group. It's my family away from home. Kiefer's 21, so he's the oldest of our kids. And I mean our kids because I only have the one. It's our CSP kids. And they've saved me tons of time, money, energy, just brain cells probably, because I can just call them up whenever I need them. My tone of voice lets them know exactly what's going on. They know when I am in overload. Unfortunately for Miss Jean, she gets to be the backboard. She doesn't have any special needs kids, but she set our group up. So I can talk to the other moms about what's going on, and then when it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, Jean, this is when God needs to intervene. This is when I need you to help me understand how I get by this guilt. And so when Jean sees my number come across her phone, I can imagine what she thinks. Oh no, here we go. But she never says a word. She knows when I call. She listens. I question God a lot sometimes, but Jean lets me talk. She listens to me, and then she explains to me how I need to look at it and how I need to understand it. So for CSP, it just helps us in so many ways. And
Warren, you talked in my book, Connections of Hope, about a specific emotion that you felt during the time after he was born. You want to tell the viewers about that, just a little bit about what was in the book?
my chapter was guilt. Kiefer was born 2 months premature in the ambulance at the Hartwell Dam on the way to Anderson. Pretty much, long story short, talked with the doctor all day. Everything was fine. Told me to hold off. About 12:30 that night, couldn't hold off any longer. His dad called an ambulance, and he was born there at the Hartwell Dam. And all that runs through my head all the time, even after 21 years, is 30 more minutes. Maybe 30 more minutes of getting to the hospital. What if? The what ifs. So, see ya.
Can I talk to Mama for a minute?
Sure you can.
Okay, thank you. Shika, in the book, Connections of Hope, throughout an emotional journey, you shared a story with the readers about an emotion that you were feeling around the time of Cameron's birth. Would you like to share with the viewers a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I remember making several mentions of different emotions that I felt. Most of all, that was centered around the seclusion that we felt, given that I had already given birth to 3 other children who, for them, it wasn't hard to be included in different events, but for Cameron it was different. And it was different because he had a disability that people did not understand, and so because of their not understanding it, they just kind of shied away from it and didn't really deal with him. And so as a parent, it made me feel isolated, because where I am so open and such a people person, I wanted to be involved. So what I decided to do was to educate the people so that they wouldn't feel like not including him or including him was going to be some more work on their part, because he was so fragile. I wanted them to know that he was a tough little guy and that he would hold his own, and that's pretty much how we handled it.
Pam, you shared with us, the readers, a story in my book, Connections of Hope, back when Callie was a little baby. Mm-hmm. Would you like to take a shortened version of that story and share with the viewers now?
I will. The emotion that Callie's story focused on is worry. And the reason for that is because of the worry that I dealt with when Callie was a little bitty thing. We didn't know when she was born that she had any kind of medical or developmental problems, but by the time she was just a couple of months old, I knew in my heart. And the worry that came from that, when everybody around me told me that everything was okay and I was overreacting, that worry was really hard for me to deal with. Mm. one of the gifts that God has given me through Callie is He has shown me that I don't have to worry, and that the peace in my heart comes not through the circumstances of my life, not when they're difficult, when Callie's sick or in the hospital, or we don't know why she's sleeping all the time, or when the circumstances are good and she's doing well and everything seems to be going along, the way that I would like for it to be. The peace doesn't come from those circumstances. The peace comes from Him. And when you know that, then you can truly let that worry go.
But having Cameron, in terms of our faith, what it did was show us a different side of God, and it increased our faith in ways that we didn't realize we were lacking, because now we had to believe for healing, and we'd never thought about that before. We'd encourage others about believing God for healing, but we had to deal with that too. So I'll say that the greatest lesson that God taught myself and my husband is the difference between healing and wholeness, and where we were looking for healing to be in the form of our son not having cerebral palsy at all. God taught us that wholeness is a state of mind, and so now that we are nurturing him to feel good about himself and to advocate for himself and to just embrace life as it is, he's whole as far as we're concerned, and we forget all about cerebral palsy.
I think the biggest or the most important thing for others to do is to listen and to be gentle with us, because I know it's hard for me to open our lives to other people, or it was in the beginning, but friends and family and people who support families like ours, you need to be intimately in tune with what's going on with us. And so be patient with us as we open up a little bit at a time.
Is that they would view the world and first of all think of how the world responds to them, and remember that not everybody is warm to them, not everybody is open and accepting of them, for them who don't have any disabilities. And so not to be so focused on the prejudices and things like that that go along with not understanding disabilities, but just to treat their children and prepare their children for life as it is. And doing that, it is our role to instill in them moral character, instill in them the will and the desire to be a light and to be an example for others. And if someone along the way sees that light and it encourages them to keep going, then our day has been worthwhile. We can't answer for everybody else who
basically just be a regular, just be a regular friend, a regular family. Come up, talk to these kids, just do anything. The main thing is just not to stay away.